Good morning, and welcome to another inspiring episode of the Good Morning Minute, where we start the day with purpose, power, and a little bit of passion. I'm your host, Angelina Mojica, and today's conversation is part of our special series in partnership with the Empower Her Steps virtual conference, a movement rooted in helping women rise, heal, and walk boldly into the life God has designed for them. Our mission is simple yet powerful, empowering life purpose, because we believe that when a woman finds clarity in her calling, everything changes for her family, her community, and generations to come. So friends, grab your coffee, let's take a deep breath, and get ready to be uplifted as we dive into real stories, honest lessons, and bold steps towards purpose with our guest today. Our guest today is Soji. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Angelina, it is a blessing to be here. I'm extremely excited to, share, my story and just connect with you and your community. Like, let's go, sis. Let's go.
Absolutely. Love it. Love the energy. Love the vibes. Yeah, so let's jump into it. First of all, let me ask a little lighthearted question just to kind of get us started. So, if today had a theme song for you, what would it be?
If today had a theme song for me. I'm gonna say the boys are back in town, man. The boys, the boys are
All
back in
right.
town.
Yes.
So I have a 4 year old, well, recently turned 5 year old toddler, and I have a 3 year old, and they're about to start school tomorrow. So actually today was like we had this amazing summer, and really were able to, my wife's a teacher as well, so everyone was home. We were really able to just connect and just grow deeper together. Like, I was finding this balance between training, growing my business, and just being present with my family. And today was kind of like our, last day together. My wife went into work, so it was just me and the boys just going on like a park tour and hanging out, getting ice cream. And it was just, yeah, it filled my heart. That was what filled my cup before coming in here today. So the boys are back in town. It was our last hoorah, and they're going to be starting school together tomorrow. And I'm just really excited to see them continue to grow.
Awesome. Well, I love it. I love that song. All right. Well, let's jump into the heart of our conversation. And I'm just going to ask you, what was a defining moment of pain or challenge in your life, and how did it impact you?
So I'm going to say one of my most defining moments was 10 years ago. And my father died of a heart attack at 52 years old. He was, before the occurrence, like, very well, very healthy as far as everyone else knew. He took a trip to Nigeria. And I remember at the time I was fresh out of college. I started my personal training career, running from gym to gym, building and building, just trying to build clientele. And essentially, my whole job there, or whole mission, was to help people essentially live their best life. I wanted them to feel stronger in their bodies. I wanted them to be strong in their minds, tapped into their emotions, and just truly, writing their own story. And at the time, I felt like I was just kind of running around, just building this business, but not really tapping in with myself. So the universe had a way of slowing me down. And I just remember one time I was still with my mom at the time, fresh out of college. So I was stopping at her house and was leaving to go and visit a girl I was dating at the time, who's not my wife today. And my parents split up when I was 12, but he had a bunch of his friends who had actually come to break the news to us. And they asked me to come back upstairs. They sat me down and literally just almost collapsed there, hearing that he had passed. So he had a heart attack in Nigeria, and the hospitals were on strike. So they brought him to one hospital, turned him away, and he passed en route to the second. And this was a really defining moment for me in terms of just forcing me to look within and, number one, be able to articulate my emotions and what was going on. And I had some maybe old chips on my shoulders that I had not really processed with my father. And this was the time that really forced me to slow down and go within. I grew up in the projects in the Bronx, so I really didn't understand how to articulate my emotions or deal with what I was going through at that period in time. And I even tried to push through and act like everything was fine until I was doing a client session. When we first started a gym out here, there was a orientation, so to speak. So you're kind of taking people, show them equipment, maybe help build them a workout, kind of get to know them a little bit. And on my first orientation with someone, this day after my father passed, I tried to just walk in and train someone. And I just collapsed on the gym floor. I was just flooding tears and this cathartic experience of just kind of letting all these feelings out. And that was a moment for me that told me I needed to slow down and like go inward, right? Like, what are the emotions that I'm feeling? How do I deal with these things and process these things? What do I really want out of life? At the time, it was just about making as much money as I could, seeing as much people, because that's, I grew up in the slums. So for me, it was like that was success. But this moment really forced me to take a step back and scan my life and, say, what was important to me: family, vitality, connection, gratitude. But now when I actually had to take a magnifying glass through these things, I really had to see, was my life in alignment with the actual core values I was preaching, or was I just saying this? So that was a real come to soul moment of like, what is it going to
Mhm.
be from here? Like, how do I want to
Mhm.
live my life, and how do I kind of keep my father's memory going, right? Like, essentially with how I show up from that day forth. So
Mm.
that was it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, Soji, I mean, that's very impactful. I mean, yeah. And I know that you shared your father was pretty young when he passed
Yeah.
too, unexpectedly.
Yeah.
So I lost my father he was 54 years old. I was
Right.
28 by the time I lost both my parents.
Yeah.
I think I was 24 when he passed, and his was unexpected too. I remember how that hit me. Like, I knew because he was on life support and they were pulling life support from him. And I remember when the doctors came out and they said he's gone. And I was in the hospital and I passed out. Like I just passed out. It was that impactful. But then from that moment, I just stuffed it all down
Yeah.
and didn't really grieve. I didn't grieve my mother's passing. And then did young adult life, did life. And it wasn't until my daughter's situation happened that it hit me. And I too, I'm working with foster children. I remember going into work one day and a foster parent was saying goodbye and they brought their little baby that they were getting ready to adopt. And when I saw that baby, it just all came out.
Yeah.
And the look on people's faces, because they don't know what's going on and they're just like, oh my gosh, right? This surprise face.
100%.
So I can just imagine what that looked like for you in that moment, being in the gym, getting ready to just do your routine. You're jumping into your next training session, you're getting ready to work with a client, and then it all just comes out.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
it was heavy. It was heavy, and that feeling of losing a parent, it's deep, and I know you can resonate with that. Yeah, it really just it forced me to just, I'd ignored all these phone calls. My father, he's a Nigerian dude, so his whole thing was, if you're not this doctor or lawyer, like, what are you doing with your life? And I'm first generation, African American here, right? So for me, it was like, I'm gonna build this business and I'm gonna prove him wrong and I'm gonna show him. So I used to be ignoring all these phone calls and these moments of connection. So like, because thinking I would just always have the time, like he'd eventually be here to toss my kids in the air and we'd live this storytell, life essentially. And that's just now how the cards, played out for me. And for me going forward, it's been like, when you appreciate somebody, when you have this gratitude, I let people know, right? Like I don't save these roses, I don't save these flowers. I give them out daily. I start with gratitude, I end the day with gratitude. I'm much more intentional with how I, live my days, right? Like I kind of have these like MVPs, for example, like what are 2 to 3 things within my control that I can get done for the day. I lead with core values, right? So I'm very clear on what's important to me, and I try to set my goals, my actions to live in alignment with those. So this was a real kind of 180 moment for my life that really kind of helped push me, I feel like, in more in the direction of my purpose, truly.
Mhm.
Mm.
Wow. And I'm hearing like at the end of it all, it made sense to you in the sense of I am going to appreciate every moment, starting the day with gratitude. And I just hear in your story that you're more intentional now when you wait from the moment of wake up to the
Yeah,
moment of, putting your day to rest, being more intentional, being present in the moment. I think that's a big pivoting moment, that those of us that make that conscious choice to be more intentional and purposeful because we don't know
yeah,
when when our time comes, tomorrow that we've heard what tomorrow's never promised.
that's it. Yeah, yeah,
And so to be intentional. So, okay, well, let's take a few steps back and go back into, the moment where you're tapping into your healing journey because you're realizing that there's a lot of suppressed emotions in, that are bubbling up and surfacing. So what was that healing, maybe growing season like for you?
For me, up until that point, I grew up in an area where I said you kind of push your emotion down, you toughed everything out, you just got over things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And especially now having two young boys, right? I got the 5-year-old, got the 3-year-old. I have another one coming actually in a month. And for me, I want to help raise young men who are comfortable talking about how they're feeling, who are comfortable asking for help, right? Who are okay with, wearing their heart and their emotions on their sleeves, right? I think when you can do so and be a little bit more vulnerable, right? I think that's true strength. And I didn't realize that before. And my healing journey really forced me to like, all right, reach out, ask for help, right? Like if you are established boundaries, right? Like if I can't overextend myself and do something because I don't have the capacity for it, slow down. It's okay to say no, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
no in itself is a complete sentence. These are all things I had to learn, leaning on people, right? Going and talking to friends about it, talking to my partner about it. Like honestly, when I first started even dating my wife right now, I had to take out, if I had something going on or I was upset, or I had to take out my phone, write on my phone, slide my phone across because I really couldn't even talk about this stuff. So it was a combination of, getting around the right people who made the environment feel comfortable to open up and let things
Mm-hmm.
out, but also like taking more of the risks and understanding that looking at strength, looking at power in a different light, you know? So my
Mm-hmm.
healing journey completely kind of shifted these things. And I'm not definitely ain't perfect, right? We're still working on things as, I want to be a
Yeah.
better partner. I want to be a better meditation teacher, personal trainer, father, and a human being. So that requires me to continue to evolve, continue to grow.
I like that. And I like the things that you're laying down for us because I feel like you're right. Part of that healing journey is tapping into what makes us, it's almost like we're going back to our childhood in the sense of what made us smile, right? And then recognizing it's a journey. It's not gonna, it's lifelong, and you're gonna have your days where you remember your dad a little bit more than you do, others, or whatever it is that you're suffering through. But I like how you were like, I knew I needed to get it out. And if it was typing it up on my phone, sliding it across the table, just to express how I feel, until I started to build that vocabulary for myself to like really put it into words and articulate what was going on inside me. But then you also talk about community and finding people that will uplift you. That's important. And you're not the first to sit on the show and go, "Hey, community, tap into those resources." Because I think for people like us, and I say like us because we're people of color, and just, it's almost taboo to ask for help, because then, especially a man, you're weak, right? That's the stigma behind it, is you're weak if you're asking for help. You shouldn't be able to ask for help. You should be able to handle it. And especially growing up in those tough neighborhoods as well.
That's the thing. Yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it completely, my friend. And I wanna break those, you break free of those stigmas, right? Break free of those generational curses, and empower my kids to move differently, but also, like I feel like the small ripple effects that we can have through all of our small even interactions, right? Like, I train, I run a coaching business where, I'm helping people grow, but I'm also showing them that I'm still working and expanding as an individual myself, and this is a lifelong journey. And a lot of times, a lot of growth is just not what you can see. It's not physical, right? So we want to keep pushing on and taking those small steps. And as you said, some days you may remember, I remember my father, like he'll just pop up. I'll see someone who looks like him, remember a song, or see a game he used to play or whatever. And I get a little emotional. Then like, I kind of turn that to this gratitude moment and kind of just sit and reflect and allow those emotions to be, right? Like that's another thing meditation has really kind of taught me, right? Like I think a lot of times we attach these stories and these judgments, either negative or positive, to emotions and how we're feeling. But I think it's really allowed me to take a step back and look at things, even acknowledge them a little bit more objectively, right? And take away that narrative and that power that they used to have over me prior. And just like understand that this is a part of my process, is a part of my journey of expansion.
Mhm. Well, I definitely see how your story has shaped who you are today. I think that's the beauty about being a coach, is understanding that I too am working through it. But I may be 5 steps ahead of somebody else that is just starting their journey. So let me coach you along the way. I think that's the beauty behind coaching, and I love it so much. Soji, so let me ask you, if there were somebody out there listening, maybe in that rock bottom moment, or maybe that in between place, what kind of advice would you give them?
I would tell them, like, you're enough right now, but you could use a little work as well, right? I feel like a lot of times when we're trying to change, and change a lot of times comes from this, could come from a negative place, right? Like I immediately think of, I'm as I'm a personal trainer, I'm in the fitness field, right? A lot of times people may look at a scale or something like that and say, like, look at all the ways they want to shift their body, as opposed to appreciating what they're currently capable of doing and all the
Mhm.
greatness that comes with their body. So I think as much as you can make your process as positive as possible, and also begin to step back and look inward, like what really actually matters to you. Like I find that that was a big change for me in that rock bottom moment. It was like getting clear on my core values. I think our core values, like, you have goals, but goals have these like finite endpoints. Core values, our values in general, like they go on in directions, they're infinite, right? Like they are our character strengths. They're what we believe about ourselves, what we think about the world. And when we're clear on what those are, they give us guardrails, and it makes it a little bit easier to make choices, right? Like
Mhm.
if vitality is important to me, right? Like even if I don't want to get up at 4:30 in the morning, I'm gonna set that alarm clock, and I'm gonna make my way over to the gym and make it happen, right? Family is another important core value. So if a choice comes up that makes me choose over them, I'm gonna look at it and say, nah, this is not really my thing. I have this time dedicated for them, like, so it really makes it easier to push you along the path and direction to where you want to go. And I find that when we're clear on our core values, if goals happen to be in that same direction, you showing up for those goals is literally you just exemplifying the person that you could become, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
You know?
Absolutely, yeah, and I love it that you're explaining it in that way because that's another component of coaching is tapping into the goals and okay, so if this is your goal, how does it align with your core values and that's where you find the motivation to continue because and you don't want to make a goal that isn't aligned with your values. It just doesn't make sense, right? Um, but you also mentioned something about change, like it's time to change, right?
Yeah.
And I think that comes with a negative kind of stigma behind it, and because when we receive that feedback, like it's time to change, then you're like, well, what's wrong with me, right? We get
Exactly.
defensive, but it
Mhm.
really is more of a kind of an aha question, like, no, friend, it's time to change. It's time for you to shift into that next season in your life, whatever that is. And the beauty behind it is you get to define it for yourself.
That's it. That's it. So I'm all about helping people take the pen back and write their own stories, right? Like I feel like a lot of times you mentioned earlier, right? Like and men, women, people of color, like you
Mhm.
go into this world, and this world would generally tell you what success looks like, what you should look like, you know what I'm saying, and what's good, what's bad. I really think that, it's really important for us to take the pen back and get clear on what matters to us, and start to basically reaffirm that identity by showing up and taking action, right? Like, and it's not, I think ready is an illusion, right? Ready is this trap. You're never gonna feel like you are completely confident and ready to knock anything out the park. You need to show up. And the more action you take, you're gonna reaffirm this belief. You're gonna build up this reservoir of confidence. So it's really about just showing up, getting clear on what matters to you, take that next step, take action.
I think that's beautiful. I mean, and it's true. It's every little step leads to big gains, right? By the time you look back, you're not where you once were. So I think that's beautiful. So I know that, so do you're purposeful, you're intentional, you wake up with gratitude. What else does living with purpose look like for you now?
It looks like for me, like living with purpose, it's making time. Like the summer was a big thing for me. I had my wife was home, my kids are home. So I run my own business. And with me, I am front. Like I have this idea of productivity. I want to be moving the needle forward. I want to be expanding and growing. But when you have a 5-year-old and 3-year-old running around, things don't occur. It's like with me now, purpose has meant also being comfortable with slowing down and truly being present with what's going on. right? Like this season of this summer was, about going into companies. It was leading meditation, leading breathworks, but also understanding that my kids won't be this age forever. And these moments and opportunities that we have to cultivate something special and build memories, I really leaned into taking advantage of that, right? So now it isn't really more so about filling up one-on-one space for me anymore, right? Like, and like just filling my hours with things to do. There's this term, this is old Buddhist monk, Sagyal Rinpoche, and he talks about this term called active laziness. And in the Western culture, it's all about like filling our schedules with all these to-do lists, these meetings, these compulsive activities that maybe make us feel accomplished, but at the end of the day, they take up this space where we don't even really allow us to ask ourselves the real questions of what matters, right? So I'm trying to leave myself more space to get to those real questions while also, right, kind of filling my roster with, people who inspire me to work with. Like I'm now at that stage in my business where I can, yeah, I can choose in that way. I can say yes and no to the things that light me on fire and kind of pull away from me. So I guess that presence for me now is putting myself in more people, in more situations around more people, places, and things that light me up intentionally. It's about making moments for gratitude. It's making time for my family. It's leaving space to get creative, to play, to think,
Mhm.
right? To hear my own voice, to be alone, right? So I think it's that's freedom for me. Like it's establishing this freedom to not feel like I'm going at somebody else's schedule or pace. Like I'm running my own race.
That's beautiful. And I think it's important. And for those that are listening, it's important and going back to what you initially said in the beginning, the power of your no. It really is putting yourself first intentionally, because if you're filling your cup, then anything that spills out is going to be a product of whatever's in it. I think there was a saying where a question was asked to an audience, if coffee's in a cup and they knock it over, what spills out? And they're like, coffee, right? Well, why did it spill? Why did coffee spill out? Well, that's what's in it. That's what's in the cup. And that's the point to be made, is whatever's in your cup is going to spill out. So if you're constantly filling yourself up with busyness, then no wonder you're agitated. No wonder you're frustrated, because look at your cup, right? So be intentional, be purposeful, I think is important, especially for making space for things that bring you joy.
Yes. I think where so many times people feel like happiness and joy is just going to fall into your lap. And I really think it's our personal responsibility, right, to intentionally put those things into our calendar, right? So, like, I know for me, growth is a core value. So, like, I want to, and connection is also a core value. So, I want to put lunch dates on my schedule and get into the city, meet with people, or jump on Zooms, meet amazing individuals such as yourself, like, because that really is what inspires me to continue to, hit the ground, hit the floor, my feet running, like running towards my goals and being enthusiastic and passionate about it, right? Like, I think it's up to us, right? Like the power is really in our hands, and the choice is ours, but how we want to show up in that aspect.
Mm, very true, very true. Well, so as we start getting towards the end of our conversation, I do want to ask you a question I ask many of my guests, one of legacy and impact. If today were your last day, what would you want to be remembered for?
I would want to be remembered for being an illuminator, right? So for me, I love, biggest compliment. I love shining lights on other people and making them feel like the best version of themselves, right? Like I've constantly been told, if you have a conversation with me, you may leave knowing nothing about me, but you feel like the best version, right? Like I ask a lot of questions. I want to get to know people. People, I feel like if you're listening to this, like you are infinite. You have so much possibility, right? Like I love seeing that out in the world and seeing people shine. So I want to be known as a person who just uplifts others, who shines a light and magnifying glass on other people's greatness, and helps them feel like they can get out in the world and get things done. So
Yeah, I mean, it's true. When you shine, you give others permission to shine as well. So it's
yeah,
definitely true.
great.
So, my last question to you today is, if you could leave just one bit of truth or maybe a word of encouragement to someone maybe listening who is still trying to figure out their purpose, what would it be?
Words of encouragement I would give. Mm-mm-mm-mm. I'm gonna say honestly, what I've been really leaning into recently is that idea that readiness is an illusion, right? Like before, I feel like I used to just wait until I had more of the certifications behind my name, more of the clients, more of the outside validation. And what I'm really continuing to learn is that I'm the secret sauce, right? So no one can bring exactly to life when I'm bringing my unique experiences, my unique upbringing, how I have a conversation, how I do certain things. And if you're listening, you need to understand that in your life, you are the secret sauce, right? Like you are enough. You right now have the resources and tools to take the first step. And along the journey, you're going to fill up that backpack with more of the things you need. But you just need to get out and understand that you're it. You're him or you're her. Like you need to hear that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. For those listening, your reality can't shift if you don't move. Just to kind of sum it up. Well, so let's say someone is wanting to connect with you outside of this podcast. How can they do so?
You can follow me on Instagram at soji.james1. So that's SOJI.james1. You can head over to sojijames.com, SOJIJAMES.com. And I'd love if there's one thing that resonated with you deeply, I'd love for you to maybe reach out, shoot me a message, and just let me know how it touched you. I would love that. I'd love to connect with awesome people.
Well, thank you, Soji, for sharing your heart, your story, and your light with us today. It's conversations like this that remind us purpose isn't about perfection. It's about showing up and growing through the things we go through, understanding that every step matters. Here at the Good Morning Minute and through the Empower Her Steps movement, we believe every woman has a calling worth discovering and a voice worth using. So wherever you are today, friend, remember your purpose is powerful and you're not walking alone. So until next time, friends, keep trusting, keep rising, and keep walking boldly into the life God has designed for you. I'm Angelina Mojica, your life coach, sending you much love, much peace, many blessings.